Wedding DIY was always a thing, but it's become even more a thing given COVID. So today we're talking about DIY, wedding DIY, and the important tip you need to know before you begin any project. Hi there, I'm Jamie Chang, your destination wedding planning guru and designer of joy at Mango Muse Events, the creator of Passport to Joy, the step-by-step online wedding planning course for couples, and the founder of Let's I Do This, micro weddings in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I share real and honest and useful wedding planning tips, tricks, and advice you can use to help make planning your wedding easier and more joyful so you can create a wedding you love. Because let's face it, wedding planning can be stressful. It can be downright painful, and nobody wants that. So we're bringing the joy back to wedding planning. Are you ready? Okay, so today we are talking about DIY. Yes, those three little letters. DIY certainly comes with a lot of sort of feelings and notions with it already. Some people just love DIY. They love it. And other people hate it. Absolutely hate it. And it doesn't really matter, honestly, how you feel about this, because today what you really need to know is that DIY, whether you hate it or love it, requires work. And that's what today's tip is really about. It's about understanding what you're getting into with DIY. Because, with COVID, DIY has become kind of an even bigger thing, because, finances have changed and there's, you're trying to find ways, right, to save money. And if you, postponed your wedding or you decided to wait to plan, you may have more time to handle a project than maybe you had previously. But what most couples just don't realize is that, when you dive into DIY, there's just a lot of work. There is a lot of work involved. And before you begin any project, you really need to know what you've signed up for in reality before you start. Now, DIY obviously can be super useful and super helpful and valuable, right? It's a way to save money for sure on your wedding. And it's certainly a way that's utilized a lot to help you save some money. But, you need to know that DIY always costs something. May not be money, but it costs something. It can take time. It'll take effort. It'll take coordination. And, the way to really assess it, to think about, is to think about it in the sense of the actual DIY project you're considering. Because with DIY, everything is on you. From start to finish, everything is on you. So you want to think about the project that you're considering, the DIY project you're considering from start to finish. So, what will you need to do to make this project happen? So here are some questions to think about. Do you have to do research? What kind of research? How hard is this research? How will you get the materials and what will they cost? Because there's still some money involved to some degree. What is that going to look like? Do you need to do a test run? And what happens if it doesn't go well? Do you need, time to say prep anything before you do this test run or before you do the actual project? Do you need to store items? How will you store it? And how will you store it before and after? Before you've created it and after you've created it. What about transporting? How will you transport the items to and from the wedding? How are you going to set it up? How is that going to work? How are you going to break it down? And, do you need anything additional in order to do either of those things? And then what happens at the end? Are you keeping this thing? Are you selling it? Are you storing it? What's the plan there? Thinking through your DIY project from start to finish really gives you just a better idea of what it's going to take to do it. And in turn, what the time, what the effort, the coordination, and yes, also the money involved it will be, right? How much it will take to make it happen. Once you understand that reality, the reality of that situation, then you can assess whether it's worth it or not. And it might be, very well might be, but it also might not be. And perhaps you'd rather pay someone to do this for you, to do it all for you. Because once again, remember, with a DIY project, everything is on you. When you pay someone to handle this for you, it's on them. So in many cases, that someone also could do a better job at it than you. It might turn out better. So it's something you're going to have to assess. It's something you're going to have to think about. And you just can't do that unless you think through the project from start to finish. Because you just don't have all that knowledge and information until you do. So as you approach wedding DIY, as you approach a DIY project, go through this process before you start, before you decide to go for it. Go through this process and think about it. Think about what it's going to take, what it's really going to take to make it happen, and then figure out if that's worth it. Because you really, really don't want to enter into this project unless your eyes are fully open, unless you know what you're getting into. And obviously, once you get into it, things might change a little bit. But in the beginning, you can at least assess what you think it will take and what the time and the effort, and once again, the coordination and the money, what's going to be involved. Because it has to be worth it. It has to be worth all of that in order for you to move forward. So make sure you go through this process for every DIY project because it will really help you just understand if it's worth it for you or not. Okay? If you have a question or a problem you're working on, let me know in a comment below and we might answer it in an upcoming video. And if you enjoyed today's video, please like it, give us some thumbs up. You can check out our other wedding planning videos for even more tips, and please hit subscribe so you can get access to all the new ones. And if you're looking for help through the entire wedding planning process, check out Passport to Joy. You can find the links below because you deserve to enjoy your engagement, no matter what your budget is. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.